Welcome, everyone. Certainly happy to be here and chat with you a bit about establishing a protection plan for critical infrastructure. My name is Mike Spanbauer, and I'm with Juniper Networks. So, though some of you may have been looking for Kate Adam, Kate had a conflict, and certainly we both share a mutual interest in addressing these challenges that the industry faces and in solving for these problems. So, before we get to really how to go about developing a plan, I think it's important to first set the stage as to where we've been and how we arrived here. So the prospect of operational technology and information technology, TIT convergence, is one that's come up for quite some time. The recognition that there were considerable benefits and efficiencies to be gained by the leverage of technology to more effectively connect and to monitor environments without having to send a truck out to a remote site or to some difficult to reach location in order to determine whether the technology or whether the valves or the components are behaving appropriately is a natural one. It's a very logical one. But initially, and the same is true on the information side in the enterprise, the considerations and the number of threats and actors were far less prevalent. So we took advantage of those connections, but did not recognize that inevitably, eventually, the threat landscape would grow considerably more diverse and capable, and in doing so, be able to compromise or potentially attack these elements that we connected. And so, and really, the convergence concept is indeed a very, very good thing, and it comes down to a number of factors, right? One is simply budget. Being able to leverage capital expenses and amortize them across multiple functions, multiple groups, is an economically intelligent choice, as well as the idea of being able to modernize or to more quickly take advantage of innovation and other capabilities to improve processes, response times. The prospect, if you recall, of meter reading, for example, it used to be a taxing one for many municipal utilities, having to stop at every single house and then walk up to the side of the house and read the meter. Of course, it advanced to short range, then of course, more mid-range technologies, to the point now that the staff required to capture a reasonable size community is a small fraction of what it once was. The other side of this is also the men and women that are operationalizing or managing all of these capabilities, whether that be chemical controls or whether that be mining processes, depending on which industrial sector we refer to. There's a host of folks that are monitoring the capabilities to best utilize the information available, which, as I think everyone's aware, is considerably broader and greater and more deep than has ever been available in history. And it will continue to trend in that direction, but therein lies part of the risk. With this data, of course, and the connectivity comes some challenges. And so if we think about security and the infrastructure on which it rides, the networking, they've largely been thought about as two separate technologies, two separate entities, right? Yes, security is to address threats that are traversing the network, but they were developed and considered independent of one another. And there's numerous examples over the last 20 to 30 years where that's the case. And in fact, HMIs and other technologies serve as interfaces between different types of technologies in order to provide a bridge or that leverage. But this is where the behavior of those activities, that action becomes the challenge that we address or we face in the security world. On another panel earlier, the point was brought up that really the prospect of risk is one that spans the entire space, and it's not limited to just cyber. It's also the physical access to the device, knowing who's in the room at what given time, is potentially a key data point to use when determining whether there's an event that's worthy of action that needs to be addressed or acted upon as occurring. And so, really this concept of networking and security being independently developed and deployed and managed is one that I think is part of the root of the challenge we face and crucial to this protection plan direction. And really, this concept of bringing them together is what brought me here, to Juniper Networks, right? I think the concept of leveraging the network telemetry and insights and capabilities of all of the connected elements from L1 to 7, as well as the security insights and logic analytics, heuristics, et cetera, that know what to do when we see something that's occurring, and to be able to act with both authority and to act with the knowledge of exactly what is happening is crucial, right? Because we can't afford to make a partially informed decision in the critical infrastructure space. You must know with certainty that the action you take is the right one. Unlike the whole concept of variability in enterprise, I can't accept mistakes. I can't accept taking something offline that could potentially impact on a scale that's far beyond a single ransomware event with a system that may take days or weeks to restart and to bring back online. So leveraging the network insights along with great security algorithms and capabilities is crucial for a plan and for an approach to put in place. And so really, that's why I'm a profound believer in bringing them together, and I have been for many years, consulting across all sectors. And at its root, this is the challenge we face as an industry as we accelerate our motion towards protecting these infrastructures, and now more than ever, critical infrastructure is crucial to innovate around and to develop effective plans and capabilities to then leverage in the effort to mitigate risks and protect the environment. So what I believe as a concept serves this purpose best, no matter what type of infrastructure, no matter what sector you're in, or even which geo. The concept of building what we refer to as a threat-aware network is simply this, right? Taking all of the security insights and capabilities that you, your technology and your ops team possess, and being able to act in the context of the network at the point of connection, whether that be a controller, whether that be in an interface, right? Every app has an end and a beginning, and really being able to be as surgical as possible with respect to controlling that event, that a security incident, is absolutely crucial. So having the tools and technology to see that, and the process to know when to make that action happen is root to this process of building the plan. And it begins with effective visibility, right? Being able to see the activity in an environment is step one, right? You cannot protect against that which you cannot see. Right? That's a fundamental premise of security, whether it's physical or virtual, or or in the context of information, or in critical infrastructure. It doesn't make a difference. You need to know what's going on to then ascertain what needs to happen next. And doing this is not going to be a single vendor. And yes, I know I am a vendor, but I'll say it again: no single vendor can address this as themselves. And so having an organization that you can work with and partner with that's committed to open standards, network communications, and collaboration throughout the community is crucial for every organization to be effective, to be successful. And this is crucial, that plan concept, because you need to know the objective that you're hoping to achieve at the beginning to build that plan effectively. And doing so with the right technology partners ensures that you're not going to be blind at some element of this journey, and that your organization, your team, will have the visibility throughout the environment, throughout the various connection points, and really across all of the capabilities that they'll need to, in effect, then be able to address that next step. And I think also being mindful that this is not going to be an overnight journey for any organization, right? I certainly respect the vast wisdom and experience of many with whom I've been lucky to engage, and in fact, we had a number of notable folks that have incredible reputations in this space as consultants on the last session. Speaks to the sensitivity to the processes within, and the fact that there's a great deal of as a concept legacy components that must be mindfully managed and integrated into your go forward plan. Right. So all of this comes together with this first step of ensuring that every step forward improves your visibility into the activity, in the environment, into the assets connected, what they're supposed to be doing and not be doing, and to be able to rapidly make a decision based on sufficient information to ultimately know that the next action is the right one. Because we all know that the fear that most have is really around the risk of making the wrong choice in an operational context, because quite literally in the critical infrastructure space, lives could be at risk when the incorrect choice is made, and hence the reason for knowing with certainty what's transpiring in the environment, what's happening exactly, and really arriving at that decisive, conclusive answer to then take that next step. And really getting to that point depends on great intelligence, right? You heard me mention a moment ago about this concept of network telemetry, right? From where to where, how long, right? How large is the communication string, right? Is it the first session, or is this some iteration of them? Right? All of these elements are indicators of both good or benign traffic and potentially malicious traffic. And so really knowing how to look at all of this data and apply the process, the people, the context, intelligence to that data is key to achieving that decisive verdict, right? Knowing that this is malicious and I must act on it now in a decisive way, right? Either sever the connection or increase monitoring, right? Force decryption, whatever that outcome may be, depending on what's been observed, is ultimately achievable through this prospect of both layered intelligence and that's the ability for a system to use the built-in heuristics, intelligence, AI, machine learning, right, the models within, and that collaboration, right? Threat intelligence feeds, taking advantage of work done by others, both in the context of a current campaign that a threat actor may be running, or in respect to particular vulnerabilities or activities that have been witnessed over the preceding 1, 7, 30 days, or potentially longer time spans, depending on what it is. Ransomware, the current issue, right, largely are variants that are turning in hours. So the value of certain intelligence, it is most certainly time sensitive, and that gives us the ability to predict and to mitigate those problems as they become critical. So in the context of the plan, having the right intelligence stack, the quality of intelligence feeds and analytics, and a stepwise process to recovery in the context of a threat is crucial, right? Much like the concept of business continuity or recovery plans, having something like this for the ops intelligence team for security is also part of that motion, that plan, and having a designated primary who also knows exactly what other stakeholders must be involved in a decision should that information reveal that an action must be taken. And this is the part that I think has been the struggle for most of the orgs that I've spoken to over the last decade, is ensuring they know exactly who to talk to, who is the authority on all of the potential systems or elements of impact when it traverses from the cyber to the ops space, and having the shared respect and knowing how to work in a timely fashion to ensure that that right objective is achieved. So that's the second piece of building this threat aware network. And last, but definitely not least, is having this prospect or concept of enforcement also available, right? Being able to either directly sever a connection, right, or terminate a session is certainly one outcome. But in addition, right, that's not the only action. Right? Other actions that are potentially wise would be additional monitoring, right, or complete capture of the session, the communication, for the purpose of additional analytics and forensics. I can't tell you the number of incident teams that lament the fact that they are unable to deconstruct the complete transaction other than by pieces and fractional logs in order to determine what the actor was trying to do and specifically what was the next steps, right? Because you found something, you saw it, okay, so I know where they are now. That predictive next is ideally what would be great to ensure that the right protections are then improved, right, or in place to mitigate that outcome. The concept of a kill chain, breaking one link severs the entire. It depends on having that enforcement mechanic, and that can be endpoint. It can be a host of different measures. Again, I won't be prescriptive here because we don't have the time, but certainly ensuring that you have an enforcement mechanic at the right points for every port, every circuit, every flow, and even every process. And so again, the right communication structure that's in place to know who to talk to when from a workflow perspective, so that the right teams can be notified, the right action can be taken, and ultimately, technology supports this. But in the context of building a plan, right, the whole of the people process technology story must be considered. And that's where I think enforcement becomes an area that most organizations spend quite a bit of time thinking through and ensuring that they have the right controls. And it's always better to spend more time on these during the planning phase than to realize that I wish I would have had a port monitor or some out of band connection link should a denial of service threat basically eliminate your out of band access via the internet, right? So having those controls, having that means to manage and to ultimately enforce should an event occur is crucial. And again, this is really only possible bringing all of the power of the network, both local and wide area, right? So radio inclusive, together, along with a capable security stack and security capabilities offering that will be multi-vendor, that works as again a community collaborator, right? Driving the right conversations, engaging with the capabilities, the people that you're invested in, to ensure that the solution works for you. It doesn't just work for the sales guy, and making sure that ultimately serves your purpose, your needs, your outcomes for your infrastructure requirements. And no, it's not necessarily some simple path. But I do believe that there are vendors committed to this, to helping, ensure that the right solutions, provided for you, that you are indeed in good hands to work with, is really what you need for the confidence to know that you're engaging with the right folks. And so, really with that's the precipice and kind of the apex of the plan concept, right? The structure. Now we're going to go into a lot more detail here a little later today, during the open conversation session, and talk about some of the challenges as you're walking through and building these protection plans, as you're kind of assessing challenges, whether that's operational responsibility, or that's technology gaps, visibility issues. Right, we're going to have an hour where myself, Bob Tafoya, as well as Kate, will come back and we'll speak in much greater depth. But really, there are, I think, a number of paths that are available for every organization, and that there's no one answer. There's no one solution. If any vendor were to say that that there's a perfect technology and that I solve all things and I mitigate all threats, well, again, the moment they open their mouth, you know that they're not telling you the truth. I spent, like I said, the last decade, predominantly in the oil and gas sector, consulting with organizations in Texas. I'm in Austin, around infrastructure issues, lack of visibility, and really this prospect of accelerating their security capability responses in an ITOT conversion world with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of sensors, technologies deployed around the world and under the sea, right, where 2 miles deep. You don't exactly have a chance to send a diver or to send a simple technology to go access. So we'll talk about those issues and more in that session later. But with that, I want to be sensitive to time and give you folks here a few minutes towards the top of the hour. I know we're all virtual every day these days, it seems, from one meeting to the next, and I appreciate you spending time with me here. And certainly I see that there's one question now that's come up in the chat, and I'll address it. So give me 1 second and I'll read it for you. So what are some of the challenges that have emerged with accessing critical endpoints remotely? It's an excellent question. I think that this concept of being able to get to and to observe the behavior of endpoints when they're located, well, in the case I just mentioned, right, at the bottom of the sea, right, in the Gulf of Mexico. Again, an average floor depth between 9 and 12,000 is oftentimes where the rigs are located. What do you do when the endpoint's there, right? I think it all comes back to that planning motion, recognizing that you have to have resilient or redundant links, being able to manage a number of different issues, and one of which is the water temperature. Right? In that context specifically, right, you can't depend on copper for reasons, because there's actually a number of communication challenges that affect the physical air. So thinking through these and recognizing that you need to have a fail-safe or a backup mechanic for that in the context of cyber and really operational continuity, right? To manage risk, it's not just in the context of cyber, it's in respect to really the process continuity and ensuring that it continues to behave as expected, and that you have access to the element of the node at all times is crucial for the planning section. So, and then one other question that follows on is what process and protocols do you have around insider threats, or what mechanics can you conceive or consider when it comes to insider threats? Now, I won't belabor the physical security, because in the context of critical infrastructure, you most certainly need to be very mindful about access controls and the whole prospect of credentials from a physical access mechanism. Right? There's certain folks, certain groups, certain background clearances required to access a few locations, and ensuring that that's a part of this is certainly one piece. But in the context of excuse me, digitized insider threats, which is largely where most of the cyber controls focus, being able to definitively know that a user is acting within the context of their authority in a way that is not malicious or is at least benign is crucial. And that gets back to ensuring that you know the identity of every single connected entity, that you also understand the applications and protocols in use in the environment, and that you have a map to the expected processes, so that when a behavioral anomaly occurs, right, that you can act on that with authority. And in those cases, those are actually instances where I do advise aggressive digital mitigation, right? So I absolutely do see that dropping a user is a fine outcome, no matter what rank they are. If there's a reason for the behavior to be considered odd, then I have no issues advising an organization to drop the managing director of the utility off, because it could be the compromised credentials of said individual versus the actual user. And that's that distinction, because an insider threat is not technically necessarily the individual themselves, but it could be the perceived entity or individual that had their access mechanics compromised. And so that is a very real challenge, and only through great tools can that they are behaving in a strange or an anomalous manner. One additional piece, right? So, in respect to our offers, or do we have any services around access management? Indeed, we do. But I think being able to support organizations where their access tools and connection needs lie, whether that be via virtual private networks or VPNs, right, or typical client site capabilities, which we've decades of experience and certainly reputation around, is something we do very well at Juniper. But it's also in the context of this emerging capability, it's referred to as Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE. I know that it's dominating a lot of the conversations on the enterprise side of information technology and security. But I think it also stands to provide a great deal of benefits from an operational context. When you think about the ability to isolate and segment each user, each app, each session, and the directionality of those connections, as well as those capabilities applied at scale, right? Having consistent policies applied, no matter where an operations team resides, whether that be in the North Sea or whether that be in the Gulf of Mexico, whether that be on land, someplace, wherever that need lies, and whatever connection mechanic is employed, being able to effectively apply the same security capabilities to users, but also assure the experience that they have connecting up into their resources is crucial. And so I think SASE actually will play a considerable role as we move forward and continue to watch innovation support the IT/OT world, and really this the industrial connectivity and needs of this industry. So I think we've got time for one last question. So in any way, do you also assist with the BCP, or business continuity motion? Yeah, absolutely. I think to the prospect or the concept of this the session, and as I mentioned, right, the planning motion itself, it depends on understanding objectives, right? What is exactly your intent, at the outcome of the plan, right? So knowing what you're aiming to achieve when you enter a planning session is crucial, right? And anybody I know out there who may have gone through these without clear objectives to begin with, it's a career experience. And I'll just leave it at that. It's always best to understand what the ultimate objectives are, and to ensure you understand who the stakeholders and contributors are to achieving said objectives, so that when you begin to build the plan, that indeed you've got the right capabilities identified. And so the way in which we assist here at Juniper is to really share experiences of our other customers that have walked the same types of paths, that have taken these journeys before, and our industrial control solution that we offer is actually supporting and certainly I think protecting a number of vital organizations throughout North America and Europe and other geos today. And in doing so, that technology and that shared experience of how other customers have walked this path, I think will give you the confidence to know that you too can also achieve the same success, and do so with the certain knowledge that our resilience, our capabilities are relied upon for a reason. And indeed, I'm proud to say that I think our technologies do address some of the most complex challenges that the industry faces. There's no such thing as perfect. Anyone who says so is well, I don't have tall enough boots, but I will say that we do our diligence and ensure that we are staying at the edge of innovation and capabilities to ensure that our customers are protected as best as can be achieved with today's innovations. And so really with that, I think that's the amount of time that I have. Again, I want to make certain that I thank you all for the time, and certainly hope to see you all attend the session this afternoon. And with that, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.